Hey everyone, I'm Alex from Openfield. We are about 4 weeks into our problem validation process together, and I want to walk you through what we found. So I just will start by recapping where we are. A few weeks ago, we met and you shared those 5 problem statements you had identified already from your customer interviews. From that point on, we talked about how to sharpen those problem statements into something we could actually test with users. Then we talked through how we were going to measure whether each problem was worth solving. And together we landed on 3 dimensions. So the first was reach, how many people experience the problem. The second was impact, how painful it is to basically experience that problem whenever you encounter it. And then finally, opportunity gap, whether existing solutions are actually meeting this problem or leaving people frustrated. Each of these gets scored on a 1 to 5 scale. We average them together for a final composite score. Then we talked about your threshold. You said, look, we've got limited engineering resources. We can't chase every problem. We need to know which ones are real opportunities. And so as a group, we agreed any problem scoring above 3.5 would warrant solution development. Anything below that, we deprioritize. That was your bar. And so we took that, we built the survey, and we targeted K-12 teachers at public schools in the United States. And we deployed it in late August through early September. We got 278 complete responses, which really puts us right where we want to be. So let's dive into your results. And before we do, I'll take a step back, zoom out here, and say, let me be really clear. Everything you're seeing here is fake data generated through AI. Just to show you the format and the approach, none of this is real research. But if this were your report, here's what you'd be looking at. Let's jump in. The first thing you see up top is the executive dashboard. So this is really designed to give your decision makers the answer they want in 60 seconds or less. Here's your snapshot. We tested 5 problems, 2 of them passed. We tested them with 278 public school K-12 teachers in the United States. And here's the punchline. 2 of those problems passed your predefined threshold. Both of them are about instructional practice rather than administrative efficiency. And what we found is that teachers have largely adapted to admin work. They're using Google Workspace and templates, but they're still struggling to figure out how to meet individual student needs at a bigger scale. If you scroll down, we give you some recommended next steps here. The first would be to advance problem 1, in this case, to solution development, that you consider bundling it with problem 2, because we do some co-occurrence analysis and we see that for people who identify with this first problem, almost half of them also identify with this second problem. And then finally, we recommend some follow on like qualitative research to understand what differentiation looks like in practice for this target segment, so that when you move towards solutioning, you can make sure your solution is actually meeting the needs of the people feeling this problem. The next section here shows you really just the complete problem landscape. So all 5 of the problems ranked by their composite scores. You can see how the breakdown of those 3 dimensions that we talked about works. So reach is how many of your respondents experience this, in this case, shown by both a percentage and on the 1 to 5 scale. Impact, how painful it is when they encounter it. Opportunity gap, basically whether existing solutions are working or not. Like, do people care about this? And are they dissatisfied with what's currently available? Let's look at problem 3, because I think it's actually like a pretty good example of why quantitative validation like this can be so helpful. It has the biggest reach at 82%. So it's super tempting to say, look, this affects 4 in 5 people in our target market. Like, let's go after this. But it doesn't pass your threshold. And the reason is the opportunity gap is only 2.1. It's the lowest of anything we've tested. So teachers in this case, and we'll see detail on this later in the deep dive, but teachers in this case have found workarounds that work well enough. So there's no real market opportunity here, even though lots of people experience this problem. And that right there is the power of this approach, because it prevents you from building something that might feel obvious. Because again, you're seeing 4 out of 5 respondents say, yes, this is a real problem. But it keeps you from building something like that users don't actually need, and crucially, won't actually pay for, because they're already satisfied with their current solutions, even if they're imperfect. Now, let's scroll down past some other stuff here. We have some info on the respondents and their characteristics, but I want to get down to the deep dives. So the first deep dive is about problem 1, which, as you can see, passed your 3.5 threshold. We have a reminder of what the problem statement is. You get these headline metrics up top. Those are great, but you've already seen them. The key value here, though, is in what comes next, because the first thing you see is pain distribution. So in this case, 61% of teachers rated this as either moderately painful or worse. So it's not just a vocal minority. This is pretty widespread acute pain. Then we show you frequency after that. So how often does this happen? In this case, 52% of teachers are experiencing this weekly or more. So it's not just like an episodic thing, it's chronic. And then current approaches. We're seeing here that this is really important piece because we're seeing like what respondents are doing now and how satisfied they are. So in this case, for example, you're seeing the most used solution, or not most used, but the second most used solution is teachers pay teachers. I highlight it here because it's very, it has a relatively high percentage of users that are actually doing it, a relatively low satisfaction compared to the other ones. And so teachers are searching for help. This particular solution is evidence that like they're not necessarily finding what they need. And then we pull out some representative quotes. The way we do that is we use statistical topic modeling techniques to identify common themes across our corpus of responses. And then we pull out basically representative quotes for those themes. So in this case, I know I should differentiate, but when do I have time to make 3 different versions of every activity? I'm already working 50-hour weeks. That's the voice of your user. That's what you're solving for. So at the bottom of each deep dive, we do a bit of segmentation work. So in this case, early career teachers between 1 and 7 years of experience feel the pain most acutely. Impact scores of 4.2 and 4.1 are both above the average for this problem. And you'll also see that elementary and English/ELA teachers are feeling this problem more widely in terms of reach. And in terms of opportunity gap, English ELA teachers are feeling like current solutions don't measure up. Now, if you're thinking, okay, this problem is real, what do we do? In this case, this segmentation points at the idea that maybe you should go ahead and focus on early career elementary teachers. That's where the pain's concentrated. Now, we also have deep dives on your failing problem. So briefly, I'll just show you what I mean. First, look at your opportunity gap for problem 3, 2.1. If you look at current solutions, though, look, 67% of people are using some sort of Google Workspace tool, and average satisfaction is relatively high, 4.1. So the idea here is like, yes, this is a problem that people feel regularly, but they're basically satisfied. So the recommendation here then says, look, this is a real problem. Don't build for this because 82% of teachers experience it, but they've adapted. And so if you're building something here, you're engineering against, Microsoft, against Google, against generally satisfied users. Your engineering time is better spent on the instructional practice problems where there's actually a gap. That's what I mean when I say quantitative validation prevents really costly mistakes, because you might have spent 6 months of engineering time chasing that 82%, but now that would have been the wrong move strategically. The rest of the report has a few other pieces. You saw the respondent profile up top. This basically that confirms we hit our target segment. We also layer in here some alternative scoring methods. The idea is that maybe different stakeholders care about different things or weigh them differently. Maybe you care more about reach or about pain. This analysis here shows you how the rankings would change if we weighted the different dimensions differently. It turns out that in this case, problem 1 wins under every scenario, which gives you a really strong amount of confidence that it's a robust finding. Down below, you'll see the problem co-occurrence analysis. The idea here is that some problems that might appear distinct are actually symptoms of the same underlying issue. So we look at, when users evaluate these problems, how often are they saying yes to the same one? So how often do people experience the same sets of problems or same sorts of problems together? You might want to bundle those together because maybe what that's saying, this requires some strategic thinking, but maybe what that's saying is that they have the same underlying cause. So then we end with concrete next steps. We don't just say, hey, here's some interesting findings. We say, here's what to do next. Here's who should do it. Here's when. So immediate actions, medium-term actions, what not to do, and then some success metrics to track. So there's your problem validation survey report. You get that 60-second executive landscape or dashboard up top. You get the complete problem landscape. You get deep dives, you get segment analysis, you get recommendations. The whole point here is to answer that question you came to us with, which is which problems should we solve first? And this right here gives you the data and the story you need to defend that decision to your CEO, your board, your engineering team, really whoever needs to be convinced. Would love to talk to you more about how to make this work for you. Thanks.